Search underway for missing passengers from a capsized boat. Governor Juffa urges government to act on findings of SABLs. And more warnings from Eda Ranu to conserve water.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and thanks for joining me with Tuesday's news. Immediate steps must be taken to implement the findings of the Special Agriculture and Business Leases. Northern Governor Gary Juffa made this call in a news conference today. Of the 75 SABLs, only one is found to have followed full legal processes.
The Special Agriculture and Business Leases has been a concern for many Papua New Guineans. However, little attention has been given to address the plight of landowners affected by this scam. Many of the landowners have watched their forests being destroyed under the disguise of freeing up land for agriculture. Since 2013, the government has promised action to implement the SABL inquiry report, but has taken too long. Northern Governor Gary Juffa, who has been vocal on this issue, has again called for immediate action to revoke all unlawful SABLs.
If I were in charge, I would instantly engage the army. We would have an operational order, send them out to every one of these 74 SABLs that are illegal, lock up, seize all the machines. Every foreigner that is on that SABL, they would be instantly detained, would freeze all their accounts, prosecute them. The proceeds of the sale of all those machines will be used to compensate the landowners from those areas, and these people would be kicked out.
Of the 75 SABLs throughout the country, only 42 SABL reports were provided by the only two members of the Commission, Nicholas Miro and John Numapo. Their findings recommend that 30 SABL were to be cancelled, 11 to be suspended, and that only one was in order. The other 30 SABLs, however, have not been received by the government.
15 million kina for this report. There's another one, 15 million kina. And one of the reports was never tabled. So of the 3 commissioners that were commissioned to do this report, only 2 produced it. We paid 15 million kina. Now, an interesting matter has been raised by one of the commissioners, and I think it's very relevant. One of the commissioners has said, hey, we didn't get the complete amount. They said they paid 15 million, but we only got about 8 million. So what happened to that 7 million? Where did it disappear? From here, Treasury, to the bank accounts, where did that extra 7 million go?
Community advocacy group Act Now has labelled the recent announcement by the government on SABL as an excuse. Act Now says the government needs to set a clear timetable to explain when all leases will be revoked. Chief Secretary Manasupe Zureno says the government hopes that some land will be returned to landowners in the not-too-distant future. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
Well, Governor for Northern Province Gary Juffa also said the government should put more effort into mitigating the effects of El Nino in the country. He says the government should involve appropriate organizations to carry out mass awareness, telling people what to do and how to manage during the El Nino period. Mr. Juffa says vital information such as a hotline number, growing drought-resistant crops and preventing diseases during the dry spell should all be made public.
Papua New Guinea, like many parts of the world, is already feeling the effects of the extreme weather or El Nino. Parts of the country are seeing long dry spells affecting crops and water supply.
You know, we were warned about the El Nino. This is what scientists have termed a monster El Nino. It's going to last till April 2016. It is worse than the El Nino of 1997. You know, what mitigating actions have we taken? Absolutely nothing.
Mr. Juffa said the government should be doing more to mitigate the effects of this El Nino.
The government should have gone about engaging the health department, the education department, the Department of Provincial and Local Level Government, and carrying out significant awareness so that the people know what to do, how to manage this situation, how to survive.
He said the funds being committed to assist affected communities or mitigation programs should be closely monitored to ensure that the most basic needs are delivered to the people for survival.
There should be a hotline. There should be a national policy. There should be a provincial government policy. We have one. Our province has a national disaster policy. We have a national disaster management unit that keeps us informed. And then significant funds have to be placed in there. And there should be a very sound policy review, monitoring policy on the delivery of the most basic needs.
Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Well, the ongoing dry season has taken its toll here in Port Moresby, and the only water supplier, Eda Ranu, has appealed to city residents to control the use of water. Less than 50% of water now remains at the Sirinumu Dam outside Port Moresby. Eda Ranu Chief Executive Officer Henry Mokono is urging city residents not to waste any more water.
The continued dry weather has taken its toll on Port Moresby's only water supply reservoir at the Sirinumu Dam. The dam, which holds a total capacity of about 340 to 360 million cubic liters of water, has now dropped to below 136 million cubic liters. That means that more than 50% of the total reservoir has been used already. City residents are consuming water every day at a rate of 170 to 174 million cubic liters, and that is also subject to evaporation. Eda Ranu has predicted that the remaining water at the dam can last for another 8 to 10 months only if city residents start to conserve and use water wisely.
Not addressing the responsibility to control and conserve water, that number of months can be reduced significantly.
The situation is critical, and those using water supply towards vehicles are advised to stop. Running taps must be fixed and illegal connections must be reported.
So we want to bring this message out to the business houses, to the communities within the city of Port Moresby, the residential areas in Port Moresby as well, and industries to conserve water as much as possible, to control the use of the water.
Eda Ranu will be forced to rationalize water if El Nino condition continues and the people not complying with the advice. Eda Ranu will run campaigns around the city to let people aware and conserve water. Quinton Alomp, National EMTV News.
A search operation is underway after a boat capsized off the coast of the Duke of York Islands in East New Britain Monday morning. One woman died and her body recovered, while 3 others are still missing at sea. The boat was carrying passengers bound for a funeral service on the Duke of York Islands when it ran into rough seas. EMTV's Edwin Fidelis reports.
A team from the Provincial Disaster Office began searching again today for the 3 missing persons who are still lost at sea. It's been about 24 hours since the boat capsized off the coast of Duke of York Islands yesterday morning. It was one of 3 boats carrying passengers bound for a funeral service on Duke of York Island. The 3 people still missing was an elderly man and his 7-year-old grandson. His mother died from the tragedy yesterday. Her body has been recovered. The 3rd missing person's identity still remained unknown. Earlier today, we spoke to one of the relatives of the deceased woman.
Olironigo namelo karawaraile now. First sikam, emi tanimbo. Second sikam, emi happy mall now. Shoot long only go long way separate mall now. Only man. Only capsized go down, only man support him all, go. Time second sikam ya. Ta sol separate him all now. Now dry come now namelo all. Tupla pupu itiripigo. Third sikam down him tupla now, tupla die now. Put down go down tupla no come back. One ply must take come up. Tupla now lo continue lo pine him tupla.
Strong winds and rough seas have been experienced in the province over the last 5 days, and stern warnings have been issued by the Provincial Disaster Office, cautioning seafarers to avoid traveling by sea between Kokopo and the outer islands until the weather improves. The boat mishap wasn't the first and it won't be the last. Yesterday's incident has yet again brought to light the Small Craft Act that hasn't yet been enforced by the National Maritime Safety Authority. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
The National Executive Council has approved expenditure cuts of 1.4 billion kina to the 2015 budget. This will bring the total expenditure to 14.8 billion kina. They also plan to raise 1.1 billion kina as additional revenue to offset a sharp fall in tax revenues. Treasurer Patrick Pruitt said this is because of a big drop in government's revenue caused by low export commodity prices. The cuts to the budget will be tabled in Parliament this month. A former parliamentarian and member of a high-level lobby group is optimistic that Papua New Guinea is better positioned to meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Speaking to EMTV News upon her return from New York, where the SDGs were endorsed last month, Dame Carol Kidu says this time PNG has a lot more in its favour to achieve these global goals.
Like the Millennium Development Goal, the Sustainable Development Goals have a time frame of 15 years. However, unlike the MDGs, Dame Carol says the degree of consultation involved in setting up the SDGs was phenomenal because there was national, regional and thematic consultation.
The MDGs were something that were created by the developed world and the UN for the developing world, whereas the SDGs are designed to hold the developed world to account as well.
Due to the level of consultation, Dame Carol believes countries are better placed in achieving these goals because they are more aware and have a better understanding of the goals.
And I'm hoping, I'm cautiously optimistic that we will make very good progress. I mean, we will have a stronger economy, and we have the public-private partnerships where many NGOs and corporate sector are providing services. So yeah, there are many positives.
Dame Carol believes the level of understanding of these issues has informed country policies and is impressed with our national planning's population policy, which she believes mirrors what is in the SDGs.
So we kind of had some of these goals and things already there in our population policy before the SDGs were endorsed.
However, while there is optimism, challenges remain in terms of achieving targets around maternal health care. A likely indicator around this is the level of referral of women needing specialist maternal care and treatment.
Present, we're well behind on that, but with better road systems and things like that, we could start to get towards the targets.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The Pacific Islands Forum is crucial to realizing global vision for a sustainable future. United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon made this statement when responding to the PIF's Declaration on Climate Change Action, which emphasized the need for global responsibility. On climate change, he says Pacific Island countries need finance, and he will be doing everything possible to ensure that the Green Climate Fund is capitalized and operationalized, and wants to see that happen before the Paris Climate Change Conference. He says the UN is also ready to support the region in achieving sustainable development and climate resilience. This year, Papua New Guinea is chair of the PIF since the country hosted the Pacific Island Leaders Forum last month. Well, among stories after the break, NFA's high-tech surveillance to monitor illegal fishing. That story plus more when we come back. Stay with us. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. The National Fisheries Authority is considering high-tech surveillance methods which will be implemented in its bid to monitor illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing activities in PNG waters. Effective surveillance is recognized and highlighted as a priority area in NFA's reform plans for the fishing industry. EMTV's Vanessa Knight reports.
The fishing industry regulating body currently uses a system called the VMS, or Vessel Monitoring System, which pinpoints on real-time all NFA-licensed vessels in PNG waters on a screen. By their positions and movements, NFA can determine legal from illegal activities being carried out and respond accordingly. However, this is only limited to vessels bearing NFA-issued licenses.
Surveillance has been one of our biggest challenges since, and if you look at the capacity that we have in country to be able to manage that is very small and inadequate to manage surveillance.
On instructions from the Prime Minister, NFA is tasked with identifying an alternate surveillance method with efficient and effective mechanisms for fishery monitoring and control. This comes in the form of a system called the FIMS, or Fishing Industry Monitoring System, which tracks vessels through its IMO, or International Maritime Organization numbering, and covers all vessels out at sea. Movements and activities of these vessels will then be monitored through satellite images and identified by their IMO numbers in Singapore, where they are registered. This way, illegal fishing boats can now be detected and identified. NFA Managing Director John Casses says the initial survey is taking place, and once a report is finalized, it will be presented to the National Executive Council for deliberation and approval.
But it's a challenge that we are looking at this year, and hopefully the team, the management team and the board are hopeful that we might put our national program together by this year.
Since the European Commission has issued a warning in the form of a yellow card to PNG to increase efforts in combating illegal fishing in PNG waters, a number of changes have taken place in the NFA. Within the organization, surveillance, control and monitoring has been reinforced, and the industry is currently undergoing a review. This will eventually contribute towards PNG's efforts in aligning the industry with the Roadmap for Sustainable Pacific Fisheries. This roadmap was adopted by the Pacific leaders in their recent forum in Port Moresby. Vanessa Knight, National EMTV News.
The United Nations has engaged a freelance journalist to document the Wanang Conservation Area in the Sogaram district of Madang Province. This follows the Equator Prize being awarded to the Wanang people through the Binatang Research Centre for conserving their forest and protecting endangered species in the face of climate change. Rachel Shise reports from Madang.
Tom Bannigan is an award-winning freelance cameraman based in Sydney, Australia, who has provided contents for some of the most reputable media companies in the world, such as Al Jazeera, BBC, ABC, CNN, Discovery and the National Geographic. Bannigan spent the weekend video documenting the conservation area, interviewed the local people as well as the scientists of the Binatang Research Centre, a non-government organization specialized in studying food web systems in PNG's tropical rainforest, particularly the plants-insects relationship. Wanang's 50 hectares plot is the only one in Oceania, which is part of a global network of forest plots in about 50 countries, monitoring changes in forest over time. Philip Damon, leader of the conservation area, who approached the Binatang Research Centre to carry out studies to support his people's wish for the area to be conserved, after rejecting loggers' offers to log their area, was the main interviewee, who shed some light on their history as well as the hardships encountered to keep the area conserved for future generations, especially when they are within a vastly logged area. Bannigan, after trekking for 3 hours, arrived at BRC's Swire Research Station, where the Wanang 50 hectares forest plot is situated. The video documentary will be projected at the awards ceremony in Paris in December, when Philip receives the Equator Prize on behalf of his people from Hollywood's famous movie actor and activist, Alec Baldwin. Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
And on a relative note, the Binatang Research Station, preferably known as the Swire Research Station, is the largest well-equipped research station currently operating in Wanang 3, a very remote area in the Madang Province. This is the research station that has seen a visit from Prince Albert of Monaco in 2012 during the French marine and terrestrial expeditions.
The research station has collected more than 15,000 species of insects, to which scientists abroad have identified only a quarter of the findings that were collected within just a 50-hectare plot in Wanang. The research station, apart from carrying out ecological research, trains locals who have become experts specialized in sampling and identifying plants and animal groups.
Miken arem singot blo one pisinem singot em miken arem na teli mem one pisinem singot miken describe him kala blongem na how look blongem one kan size miken describe him na tokem disla pisinem singot.
One of the significant visitors to the research station is Prince Albert II of Monaco, who was very impressed.
We had a visit from the Prince of Monaco. He came here to Wanang to see how the work was going, and he was really impressed by the station. He congratulated us on how well we were working. And
with the Prince's help, the research station now uses free electricity. That's really helped, especially the laboratory work.
Just last year, he sponsored an extensive solar power system, which is now installed here at the Swire station, and this provides 24-hour power supply that helps to run all the computer and the electronic equipment that we need for our work here at the Swire station.
The Binatang or Swire Research Station was established with the support from the Swire Steamships Company, initially to provide accommodation and laboratory workspace for the BRC staff. French scientists launched a hot air and helium balloons to study plants and animals in treetops. Since the setting up, the station has seen numerous both locals and international researchers. Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
In the last month, PNGDF cadet officers have gone through tough training at Lays Igam Army Barracks. Amongst about 30 men, 2 women also took part in the training that covered weapons, fighting tactics and leadership. MTV's late crew was invited to film the last phase of the training. MTV's Bethany Harman reports.
These pictures were taken 2 weeks ago during a recon exercise done by cadet officers before a stage ambush.
Let's go, let's move.
Recently, we joined the 30-plus officer cadets again as they make their way out from where they had been camping for the last several weeks. They've stopped here for a break, waiting for their next orders to be given by their trainers.
To conduct fight and withdrawal.
In the next several minutes, the cadets will be chased and shotted for many kilometers.
Right, they will be in our location in about 5 to 10 minutes.
What you will experience in a PNGDF cadet officer training session is adrenaline rushing, loud gunshots ringing through the ears.
Okay, let's go.
This is the last phase of cadet training, the do or die of the whole program. If a cadet doesn't complete this course, he or she is going home. 30-plus men and 2 women go through scenarios that will test their leadership, their tactical knowledge and their weapon skills. Some of these cadet officers will lead a whole platoon once they graduate. With equipment weighing just under 20 kilograms, these trainee cadets are expected to stage ambushes, conduct routine patrols and react to attacks. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Leh.
That looks very intense. But now let's check out the finance news. The Kina closed unchanged at $0.3470 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our Kina was trading at $0.3395 $0.4759 Australian dollars, $0.2998 euro, and 40.55 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower, while coffee, cocoa, and copper closed the day higher. Palm oil closed lower, while crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 304 points higher, the ASX closed at 140 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 98 points higher. And still to come in the news, Porgera landowners push for funds to be released for school fees, and the people of North Fly left in suspense after their member was suspended from office. Stay tuned for those stories. Welcome back to the news. Chairman of the Porgera Justice Foundation, Jonathan Pariah, is appealing to the Porgera Landowners Association and Barrick Gold Limited to put aside their differences and release funds for the Porgera Children Trust Fund. This follows allegations of misuse that have seen the special mining lease landowners affected, with their children likely to be kicked out of school. EMTV Stanley Over Jr. reports.
The Porgera Children's Trust Fund was set up under the Porgera Mining Agreement. In that agreement, 10% of landowners' loyalties were put to the Children's Trust Fund as school fee subsidies. However, for almost 2 years, funds have been blocked between the mine developer, Barrick Gold Limited, and the Porgera Landowners Association.
The law is very clear, and the trust deed is very clear. When the royalty is distributed, 10% of the royalty must be paid directly into Porgera SML Children's Trust Fund.
Jonathan Pariah is the chairman of the Porgera Justice Foundation, a foundation set to stop corrupt practices and mismanagement of funds of landowner loyalties. He is now concerned with the amount of funds that are yet to be released into the Children's Trust Fund. Earlier this year, the trustees of the Children's Trust Fund took the matter to court, and on the 9th of September, the court ordered for Barrick to release funds into the trust fund. But that has not happened to date, following the Porgera landowners getting a verification order from the court to stop the court order.
The association is supposed to protect the kids' interest, the SML landowners' interest. Barrick has its own lawyers who could file proceedings to vary the orders against itself if they want it. And here we've got an awkward situation where Landowners Association is seen to be fighting against its own members, its own kids, by going to the court and applying to set aside the orders for paying their school fees.
Pariah wants the Landowners Association to come clear on their motives, and with the trust fund money as it is worth over 3 million kina.
And differences, their politics, put all that aside and take it to approve it, SABLs, to resolve whatever issues they have, and don't bring it in and tangle with students' education.
Meanwhile, Barrick Gold, in a statement sent to EMTV News, said they will not comment on the issue as there are still court proceedings in relation to the trust fund. Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
The crusade by the Move of God Ministry is touching the lives of many in Western Highlands Province. Guest speaker Michael Mailiao said PNG has accepted the 400-year-old King James Bible and change must come from within oneself. Crusade sessions at Mount Hagen's Queen's Park attracted many, both day and at night.
Days after the park resembling the Covenant was laid at Talga village, crusade rallies are now burning like fire in the heart of Mount Hagen town. The Move of God Ministry has brought all churches together to stage the Glory of God crusades. The Queen's Park in Mount Hagen was busy as hundreds of Christians came together to hear the word of God. Guest speaker Michael Mailiao kept many crying to listen and know more about the love of God.
The response and something I may come lo belstra. God created man lo worship. Or animal now or something like that. I think only God way blow all.
Mount Hagen has many denominations within its perimeter, but many who attended this program say they have never felt anything like this before. Peter Kama, a local Western Highlander, says people must make spiritual change to see physical development flourish.
Go back talking more. We need to make a shift. We need to make a move. Why? Because it will not come your way. God is taking his own course.
The crusade ended last week Friday. Jegla Pavitt Jr., National EMTV News.
Local level government presidents in the North Fly electorate in Western Province are living in suspense after their MP, Boka Kondra, was suspended from office. Kondra's suspension has affected the establishment of their District Development Authority. Ningaroom LLG President Kawuk Konmop says this has also affected service delivery in the electorate.
The Ningram LLG president says the suspension of MP Boka Kondra has gone over 6 months now and has affected the electorate. Kondra was found guilty by a leadership tribunal on 6 counts of misappropriation and was suspended from office in April this year. President Konmop says the district's funds are kept and not being used because to date they are yet to establish the District Development Authority, replacing the JDP and BPC.
We need to have our member cleared immediately so that we can deliver DDA priorities.
Concerns were also raised on why the government has sidelined the local leaders in the electorate when making decisions in regards to mining and oil and gas companies operating or prospecting in the electorate.
We see that leaders at the national level, provincial level, making decisions at the back of our member concern. Leaders are talking on behalf of Northfly, for a resource of Northfly. We are wondering who are the leaders of the day for Northfly.
With the recent drought conditions, the president says it has affected people in the Northfly electorate, but little attention has been given by the government. He called on relevant authorities, including the Office of the Provincial and Local Level Government Affairs, to look at Northfly situation and solve its DDA establishment. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Guys Official, or Go, an online men's magazine, was launched at the Vision City Mall recently. The magazine was founded through an initiative of Population Services International, the distributors of Safe Rider condoms. Editor Carmel Pilotti hopes the magazine will become a medium for awareness and a tool that will promote open-mindedness among the men and women of PNG.
Despite a large focus given to women over the years, the menfolk can now have something to read for the men's world. To begin, the magazine will cover neglected subjects of men's health, fitness, business, sport, men's fashion and various topics that would interest men.
A lot of older men, which was really interesting. So I hope that this magazine will appeal to people of all ages and all classes. Yeah.
The magazine will also feature hard news, including issues in PNG and the world. But at the launch, it was the women who led the way and attracted few. Go editor Carmel Pilotti says the magazine can lead men to understand their true role and promote some positive change in men's attitudes.
There was a lot of people who signed up. Basically, we talked about what the magazine was all about, and yeah, we got a lot of interested people.
This month, the magazine features PNG US rapper Jay Liasi as its coverman and Taekwondo champion Samantha Kasman in its Fit Chicks category.
Yeah, we talk about gender equality, and every time it's all about women, and we talk about fashion and food and whatnot. So Olmantu, they have ideas, and now it's about time that they share it. So yeah, it's a good initiative.
Contributors to the magazine include General Practitioner Dr. Poya Pruni, founder of Warrior Culture, sociologist Eddie Isla, and other professionals in business, sports and finance. Guys Official stands out because it is absolutely free and accessible to the public through online. Jack Lapawe Jr., National EMTV News.
Well, National EMTV News continues with True Guy Sports. That's coming up next, and we'll have news on Rugby League and Rugby Union. Stay with us.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome and thanks for joining me with True Guy Sports. Papua New Guinea will host some Rugby League World Cup matches in Port Moresby in September of 2017. Minister for Sports and National Events Justin Chichenko has told the media that a deal has been signed to host some matches. The 2017 Rugby League World Cup will be jointly hosted by Australia and New Zealand.
Chichenko said they have done their part
and he's been in talks with various people at the government level and also in touch with the International Rugby League Federation, and he assures the people of Papua New Guinea that we will host some of the games here at our world-class stadiums in Port Moresby. Port Moresby now has major stadiums, including Sir John Guy Stadium with capacity of 18,000 seats, National Stadium, formerly PRL, has capacity of 15,000 seats, and Sir Hubert Murray Stadium with seating capacity of 20,000. According to Sydney Morning Herald, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill is hopeful to host the Rugby League World Cup in the country, and some of the stadiums in Port Moresby will be extended to capacity of 50,000 seats or more. In a statement made by Mr. O'Neill, he said Papua New Guineans love the game of rugby league, and he hoped the NRL and other custodians of our game can come up here and expose the game to people a bit more. The Prime Minister said the stadiums were built specifically for the Pacific Games, but also to accommodate rugby league and other sports in the country. Hopefully the International Rugby League Board will accept our offer, Mr. O'Neill said. And of course, Australia and New Zealand are going to host it, but PNG is part of the Queensland Rugby League competition at present. We have developed our local competition and the schoolboys competition. Also, rugby league has a big future in this country. According to the Rugby League World Cup site, 14 countries will be competing in this world event that will be jointly hosted by Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. Shane, Saroya National, EMTV Sports.
To World Cup rugby, and the Wallabies upset over the English Roses at Twickenham Stadium is still topping headlines worldwide. The British media is still slamming their own side for a disappointing performance, while the Aussies have bounced back from an ugly 2011 World Cup appearance. But what went entirely wrong for the Roses lie in the hands of an English coach that may see the end to his coaching career after the World Cup.
In the case of the England management, 3.5 years of planning coming down to this.
Perhaps they swung too low or the chariot wasn't sweet enough. Whatever it was, the 2015 Rugby World Cup hosts are down and out. The 33-13 scoreline certainly gobsmacked the 10 million viewers who tuned in worldwide to witness one of the biggest pool matches in the history of the Rugby World Cup. And it was also history in the making for the Cup, as England became the first host nation to exit before the knockout stages.
Which it does. They have the points to show for their early pressure.
What went wrong and why they didn't perform in front of a stellar home crowd is a question that will forever linger.
Australia doing really well to keep this going. Now Foley, little dummy, Foley's going through! Oh, what a score from the fly half!
The English backline failed to play structured football, being too slow in defence and attack, while the forwards were rusty in the breakdown. Owen Farrell's yellow card, however, could have arguably been the turning point for the English Roses.
He's being asked for his view whether a
he's under the
is
shooter.
sufficient.
He's under the shooter.
He's now captain of Australia. He's not going to argue with that.
You never watch, and you kill me after the ball.
To the person that got the ball?
Please. So what about?
I mean, in the first half, we went in 17-3. That was a tough scoreline, I felt, given the way the game had gone in the first half. Got back to 2013 and we're in the game, weren't we? But the last 5 or 10 minutes, Australia dominated and deserved to win.
The English had hope with 10 minutes remaining and the scoreline at 20-13, but with one man down, the Aussies made full use and executed the ball out wide, putting veteran Aussies Adam Ashley Cooper and Matt Giddo's speed to use with a brilliant try on the wing.
Out of the competition. This is a World Cup dream come true.
A World Cup dream come true for the Aussies and a massive devastation for England. But the worst may be yet to come as the Australian Wallabies take on a defensive Welsh side on Saturday, again at Twickenham, London. Lorraine Genia, National, EMTV Sports.
Well, Trukai Sports continues after this break, and champion rugby league club Agmat Couriers prepare for a showdown with Fiji. Stay with us for that story.
Trukai Sports.
Good to have you back with Trukai Sports. And in Rugby League, just days away from the Melanesian Cup clash, PNG's champion club, the Rabaul Couriers, have been called back into camp. A 20-man squad has been named by head coach Stephen Nightingale. The squad boasts both experience and flair, with a handful of players returning from representative duties.
Nightingale has recalled the services of Kumul's captain Albert Patak, Jason Masian, Watson Boas, Chris Jerry and the experience of Piri Tongap and Travis Waninara for the Melanesian Cup clash this Saturday in Port Moresby. Their experience in playing both international and local competitions will greatly assist in guiding much of the young guns in the squad. The squad includes the likes of Joe Tabutabu Jr., Lance Kuveu and Samuel Hamari, boasting both the young backline and forwards. A pack in which Nightingale has been crafting during this season since he stepped in as coach. The clash is an initiative to create a pathway for much of our rugby players playing in the respective Intercity Cup and Fiji's Vodafone Cup semi-professional competitions, a concept similar to that of the club championships between Australia's National Rugby League and England's Super League. Tickets to the match will be sold at all Stop and Shop outlets in Port Moresby. 50 kina will get you to the grandstand, while the outer stands is 25 kina per person. The gates at Sir John Guy Stadium will open at 4 p.m. for a curtain raiser before the main game at 7 p.m. Scholar Sengi, National EMTV Sports.
To soccer, and New Zealand remain unbeaten competition leaders following an 18-0 defeat of Vanuatu, while Samoa climb into second position after beating New Caledonia 6-2 on match day 3 of the Oceania Under-20 Women's Championship. The victory for Samoa follows a 3-3 draw against Tonga in their first game on Saturday and lifts them to 4 competition points, one ahead of Vanuatu.
Samoa coach Cletita Masese had viewed the game a dangerous one, given New Caledonia were coming off a record 26-0 defeat to New Zealand in their last game.
Yes, first of all, I would like to say thank you to our Heavenly Father, because He's the one who's on our side. I am so happy with my girls. I take my hat off them. They did a really good job. Well, they play according to what we've trained and our game plans and everything we did in trainings. They did that.
Samoa took only 5 minutes to get the scoring started. However, the goal came against a run of play as New Caledonia bossed possession in the early exchanges. 3 minutes later, the lead was doubled after Shalom Fiso got one-on-one with the keeper and made no mistake from close range. Despite the scoreboard, New Caledonia were right in the game, and when awarded a free kick 25 yards out, defender Marie-Louise Chaco stepped up to deliver a brilliant driven ball into the back of the net, which halved the gap. But once again, Kamali Fitialeta's side were able to transform possession into goals, and in 23 minutes, Fiso got behind the line to slot her second and give Samoa a 3-1 lead. Set-piece opportunities for both sides will also have a telling effect on the match. For Samoa, it was a positive one, as Australia-based captain Matalina Daniels curled home a free kick from outside the box to net her side's 4th goal. Early in the second period, New Caledonia did their best to pull back the 4-1 deficit, but errors at the other end hurt once again, as Fiso exposed them for speed and secured her hat-trick on 51 minutes. New Caledonia did eventually get one back, with Oniari scoring in the 82nd to bring the score back to a more respectable 6-2 at full time. The second match of the afternoon saw New Zealand maintain their unbeaten record with an 18-0 victory over Vanuatu. Competition pauses now for rest days today and Wednesday, before match day 4 takes place on Thursday, with Samoa playing Vanuatu and New Caledonia facing Tonga. Jeremy Moggi, National, EMTV Sports.
Sports development in Gulf Province is lacking, and the youth have raised concerns on the government's commitment to sports in the province. The Soccer Association in Karamatown is the only existing code that has a competition running. MTV's Goduneke reports.
Soccer is the only sporting code that's currently being played every weekend, with a total of 8 participating teams. The field where the sport is being played is the only field in the middle of Karamatown that has deteriorated and is also used by locals to sell their market produce. Lack of sports activities has seen a drop also in the number of spectators due to lack of government's participation in supporting sports activities in the province. Soccer in Kerema Town have been running for the past 20 years and still exists today, where soccer competitions are played every weekend with teams from nearby villages and settlements in Kerema. The Soccer Association is now seeking government's assistance to help develop the codes in the province and to revive sports in Kerema Town. Gulf Province has seen many sports talents in the past that have produced best athletes in basketball, rugby league, athletics and other sporting codes, but with minimum support from the government, the interest of sports in the province is slowly fading.
We have a very high lot of young people around, and like I said, this is the only code. We want to make sure that we try to run the code so that we keep young people, first of all, we want to keep young people away from trouble. From law and order problem, we want to help. Second, we also want to see that whatever talent they have in soccer, we want our leaders to help us so that we can bring them up to like other competitions. So far, they haven't been stable in helping us. But that is the main aim I have. I want to make sure that young people look that they have talents, try to keep away from things that are bad.
She said in order to bring back sports in the province, the government needs to build new and proper facilities to encourage sporting activities so that youths in the community can take part. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Well, that's where we wrap up True Guy Sports tonight. Stay tuned. We have the weather details. That's coming up next after these short messages.
True Guy Sports. True Guy Sports.
Now let's take a quick look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Its southern region, Port Moresby dry, although cloudy, mostly fine in other centres. In the Momasa region, dry, although cloudy at times, expected in Lae and Madang, cloudy periods in Wewak and Vanimore. In the New Guinea Islands, all centres to look forward to fine weather except Buka, brief showers. And lastly, in the Islands region, dry, although cloudy at times, expected in all centres. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather this Tuesday evening. From the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi Jr. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay happy. Good night.